So I'm gonna move this bar out of the way. So we all have the Adobe Creative Suite. And so the most powerful tool that we can use with the Adobe Suite is the Adobe Color website. And this is a color wheel and color palette generator. So when we go here, we're first gonna just look at the opening page. And so we see the color wheel in RGB. They don't even give us an option for CMYK. And we see our color wheel, which they're showing us to help communicate kind of the relationship of the colors to themselves. And then down here, we have the color number, color code, along with the composition of that color with the RGB, and then finally the tint or tone of that color. And so we get to pick from all these different color schemes, and I can just start clicking through them. So this is the analogous color theme as we talked about in the presentation. All those colors are situated right next to each other. Monochromatic selects one color and goes down the kind of the black and white curve. And so let's see, yeah, goes up and down the black and white curve. And so everything's kind of has the same parent color, but has varying darks and lights. The triad splits the color palette into thirds, and here we can see the colors, and then it picks some colors in between to help add some more contrast. Complementary, opposite sides of the color wheel. Here's that split complementary that we talked about. And they can get more and more complex. Some I can't really tell differences of, others you definitely can. And again, these are just like suggestions of colors. There's definitely a whole bunch of color theory behind these relationships, but you can break those color theories really easily. So how I like to use this tool is in a couple different ways. First, I often keep in mind that we're environmental designers. We're looking sometimes for like that blue or the green, unless we want to problem solve and find some ways around doing that. Something I really like about this is that we can, if we see a color we really like oof, that watermelon pink, we can set it as our base color, and that makes the rest of our color schemes in relation to that base color. So like when we go monochromatic, we're working up and down that black and white curve of our base color. And our complementary is that exact opposite end of that color wheel. So that's one nice thing that the Adobe palette has for us. And if we like our color palette, we can name it and add our tags and whatnot. But we'll open up my libraries in a second, but we'll just save it to my general library and save it. And we'll revisit this in just a moment. So we can also extract a theme. Extract gradient is the same tool, but you extract a gradient. So an extract theme, I'll show you. Here's a picture of my sister. And I think this is a really strong tool because often in images, they're all getting light from the same light source. And so they all have a relationship with each other that feels very fluid and natural. And also, this is a cool way of getting a really site-specific or very personal color palette. And so this was my sister on the dunes in Oregon. And you can see that these colors are pretty nice. We could use, and we can move this around, we could use a little bit of a blue, get that water, and that dark green is kind of nice. I do like having a darker color. Um, and what they've done already, which is great, is that they've selected colors that are kind of complementary of each other on the color wheel, so we have some contrast happening. But I like to expand my ability to have contrast. So now I have contrast between like a very dark and a very light. So I have that kind of brightness contrast, but I also have the complementary color contrast. You can kind of give it suggestions of what kind of palette you're looking for. And you can do, yeah, you can select as you wish, which is awesome. And so I'm gonna just pick these colors here. Save Katya to my library. So that's one wonderful tool. The accessibility tool is really great at exploring different colorblind palettes, as well as contrasts, and seeing if how easily someone can see the contrast of your color palettes. I only sometimes see the colorblind color palette is a little limited, and I've only a couple times seen someone use the colorblind color palette, but I think both are really great to use just to get an understanding of how some people might be perceiving your colors. I think the other great tool here is the um, the Explore tool, which allows you to just look at color palettes and explore how they may, like what image are they extracted from, but then also you just get to like see a bunch all at the same time, and you can see color modes, ocean wine. That's exciting. Let's look at wine color palettes. Yeah, so you've got a bunch of color palettes on wine. So this is awesome. Trends I don't find as exciting. Just there are not as many options, and trendy things are trendy, so they don't last forever. So I always find getting a very personal palette is a lot more satisfying to me, at least in my projects. But definitely, if you want to be trendy, you should definitely go and look at this because it can really help create some really eye-catching color palettes. They also have some color games and whatnot. We don't have to go over that. But then finally, I just want to show you. So here we have all the color palettes. Here's my Katya color palette, which I just added in my 541 LA color palette. You can see here. And what we can do, fantastic. Okay, so we could, if we wanted to, download our color palette as a JPEG. And this gives us the kind of what the color RGB colors that make up our color, but also our color code. And you can, I used to use this like as an with an eyedropper and select my color until I learned about the syncing tool. So we have our color palettes here, and yeah, let's see. Okay. So if we go to InDesign, so I already have my InDesign up. You can select, let's just go to Window, Color, Swatches. Oh, sorry, we go to CC Libraries. We can Fantastic. So we can go to My Library. So here, there's just different ways of organizing. So like you could, your color palettes, you could organize them by projects. That's, I think, a really great way to start. But when we were looking at the Adobe palette, we were looking at the Katya and 541 LA color palette in My Library. So in InDesign, we go to My Library, we can see the color palettes here. And so if we right click our color palette, we can add theme to swatches. And so you can see down here, we have our 541 LA. And so from there, I think you can do, once you are changing the colors of things, let's see. You can see here that we get this option now to go into our 541 LA folder and select our colors. So when we're talking about adjusting like the tone or the tint, one quick way of doing that is just, so like what I had done earlier was for this text here, you go to fill. You can see I selected the same color and I can do that here. And I just changed the tint. So I added more white to the color, and you can see that I have the same parent color, but it's just a little bit lighter. And so this is one way of not only adding colors, but fonts. And this is a similar, so let's just open up Illustrator really quick. This probably will take a second, but we can also access these color palettes in any sort of Adobe software, which makes a really seamless transition and helps create that cohesion that we need from InDesign to Illustrator through our graphics. Super important. So let's see. So if we go to libraries, it's already in my themes. So libraries, My Library, here's or 541 LA color palette. And I've added color to swatches. That just will add like whatever color you're kind of hovering over. If you want to add a theme to swatches. And so when we make our shape, we go to fill, we can see our color palette here. Fantastic.